Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell. I am your host, KG, and with me, as always, is the wrestling enthusiast, Mark. Man, what's going on? Are you enjoying this 45-degree weather that we're having?
I don't know if it's quite 45, but it is nice. And only
Yeah,
say 45 is nice.
yeah. So, real quick before we get started, bring attention to my shirt here. It says the Cauliflower Alley Club. And if people don't know what that is, the Cauliflower Alley Club is a nonprofit organization that helps professional wrestling in time of need. It is something that I'm very proud of, something that I belong to, that I'm very proud of. I have a lot of pride wearing this shirt because it shows that I am part of something that's important to me. I am helping those who, in the past, the legends of the past, who didn't make as much money as what professional wrestlers make now. I am helping them whenever they're in need. And what's great is this: it is so cheap to join. Wrestling fans can join for only $35 a year. That's 10 cents a day. And again, if you truly love professional wrestling like we do, like I do, I have such a great sense of pride knowing that, my money is going to help those that I grew up watching in a sport that I absolutely love to this day. If you guys are interested, just Google the Cauliflower Alley Club. The link will come right on up. You click it, and there are different packages, different of ways you can join. There's you can join and pay for so many years, or you could join and have it pay it every single year for only $35, which is what I'm doing. But again, it's such a great organization. Bob Cook, who was with us on Tuesdays, he's a big part of the Cauliflower Alley Club. Again, I can't say enough good things about this nonprofit organization.
Is
We
it
are coming.
Brian
Was that?
Blair or something?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. B. Brian Blair is one of the guys that are in a position where he actually I can't remember exactly what his title is, but he's way up there with this organization. And Brian B. Blair was part of a famous tag team back in the day called the Killer Bees. Uh, Great individual. But let's get down to the show, which is the recap of Smackdown. And I tell you, man, although I did enjoy the show, there was some rough waters in there, and we'll talk about it once we get there.
I kind of started to get through this show, but yeah, there were some highlights, and then there was just kind of, uh, you know, um, I think they're going through an AEW phase of not knowing what to do and how to do it. I don't know. So, anyways, we started with Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. You know what? I really thought this was going to be a squash match. It turns out that Jim got the pin. I was utterly shocked.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, the match it was what it was. I wasn't overly excited during the match, but I wasn't hating the match either. It was one of those things that it was a wrestling match that was decent.
yeah, no, it was okay. I'm really surprised that Jimmy's not getting at least a quarter of what Jay's getting for pops, but I don't know. Jimmy seems to be walking that line of, do you want to love me or do you want to hate me kind of thing.
Yeah, and I noticed that too when it came out. The pops compared to his brother, which leads me to the question though: is is his brother, um, Jay Uso, is he getting those pops because of the fans truly being behind him, because of what he can do in the ring, or is he getting those pops because of his entrance music?
Yeah, is he getting a pop because of Yeet or do they really like him? It's similar to the Yes Movement sort of thing, you know, where fans want to get behind the move wrestler, I guess.
Right. Because look, I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, when it comes to his in-ring ability, I think him and his brother are very comparable. I don't think one is that much better than the other, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think so either. All right, so next we go to Jacob and Solo, the new bloodline, hashing out their issues.
No, I bet you they're no longer the bloodline.
Oh no, what are they going to be known as?
Their new name has not been introduced yet, but if you noticed last night, with the exception of I can't remember who it was, one of the commentaries, who mentioned how Solo, you know, at one point was the leader of the new bloodline. Other than that, they don't really discuss or call them the bloodline. WWE is supposed to be giving them a new name. And honestly, I think what they're waiting for is this whole feud that's going to happen between Solo and Fatu to actually be over with before they give Tamatanga and Fatu their official new tag team name. I think Solo may be going on his own.
Tamaloa should be coming back pretty soon too.
Should be.
Didn't he just break his foot in November?
Yep. I think that's what his official injury was.
Well,
again, I don't know. I haven't heard a whole lot about him or when he's coming back.
Yeah, because I mean, you're talking 4 months now. So, all right. Anyways, next we go to backstage with R-Truth, Camilla Hayes, and Miz. Apparently, there's going to be a tag team with R-Truth and his choice of partner. Camilla Hayes team with the Miz. Next we got a video with Zelina Vega. Sounds good, looks good, but need to see.
You hold on. You flew by that way too fast. So at first with R-Truth, he kind of led you to believe that maybe him and Carmelo Hayes was going to be a tag team. You know, he was a little confused, like what's going on. Then we found out, of course, it was going to be the Miz. But then R-Truth announced that he was going to have a legendary wrestler from Louisiana as his tag team partner. Now, as a guy from Louisiana, I can tell you that my head directly went to who in the actual fuck can this be? Because every legendary wrestler that I know of from Louisiana, they're either dead or they are well into their retirement. And I'm not talking about a quote unquote retirement like Rock, you know, where he's making an occasional comeback, or a one-off. I can think of anybody. So I was so intrigued and curious by this.
Yeah.
We would later go on to find out who it was.
So yeah, I was at the same thing. I'm like, Louisiana, who's from Louisiana? So, anyways, it turns out it was LA Knight, because his initials are LA.
Right. And you know, when they first came out and R-Truth came out, did his song, and then it ended. Man, I was like, who is this going to be? Looking for a surprise. I really was. And then LA Knight came out, and I'm like, you know, this was both infuriating and genius at the same time.
Right.
It really was.
And you can see LA Knight explaining he's not from Louisiana and his initials are LA, but doesn't stand for Louisiana.
As R-Truth throws him a traditional po' boy, I thought that was just great.
Yeah, it was. I forgot about the poor boy. All right. So, anyways, during the course of the match, Camilla Hayes is on his back, and R-Truth does a 3 count with nobody actually pinning Camilla, and Camilla kicks out. I loved it.
Yeah. And then, of course, he tries to tag The Miz.
Yeah. So ultimately, The Miz and R-Truth, or The Miz and Camilla Hayes got the pin. And actually, they worked pretty well together. And they had a simultaneous move together, which I thought was, I don't know, for lack of teaming together, ingenious, to be honest.
Yeah, you know, my thing is was this a one-off, which I don't think is going to be, just because they had to move together as well? Is this going to be a thing? And look, the Miz is a legend. Don't get me wrong. For his accolades and everything that he's done, he is a legend. But we also know that for the most part, anyone that has been placed with the Miz in the past has not gone on to see true success. Matter of fact, more times than not, it was almost like the Miz was the last stop before they were dismissed by WWE.
I'd argue that, but yeah, Jim or Johnny Nitro or whatever you want to call him really didn't flourish after his Miz tag
Well,
team.
it was him. It was the B team. Who else was with Miz that it didn't really go anywhere? There's been quite a few, and I'm not saying that everybody who has been placed with the Miz has had a failure of a career. I'm saying more times than not, this has happened.
I wouldn't say they had a failure in a career. They just had a failure of creativity with their character. And that's more of writing than them, per se, to a
Well,
degree.
where's the B team now, except for Bo Dallas? You know, and it's all right, fine. They've had a failure with their success within WWE, and more times than not, they got let go from WWE.
Yep. Can't argue that because that's fact. Let's see. Next, we go to Tiffany to the ring. She's spouting her usual Tiffany stuff. Nia and Candice show up, uh, telling her that she's not going to make it to WrestleMania, so don't even worry about facing Charlotte Flair. Um, Next, we go to Tiffany versus Candice. Charlotte Flair comes out to the ring, but
Well,
she said, huh?
well, go ahead. Yep, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tiffany gives her, biased opinion, I guess, is the best way I could put it, of Tiffany and whatnot.
So let's talk about a couple things. Number one, how many fucking times are we going to see Tiffany against Candice or some other version, Candice and Nia Jax tag team? I mean, I understand that they are having this match at the Elimination Chamber, but at the same time, you have other people that's going to be involved at the Elimination Chamber that's not constantly just facing the same people over and over again who they're going to have a feud with. Sure, we may have run-ins where they help the other side win or they try to help the other side win, but we still have them in different matches. I'm sick of Tiffany and Candice LeRae. Secondly, I don't know what was up with Tiffany last night, but she was way the fuck off her game. She botched the spot where she did the flip outside of the ring onto Nia Jackson, Candice LeRae. She botched the spot where she threw Candice LeRae into the rails, or whatever they call it, that separate the fans from the ring. That was botched big time. She just did not look on top of her game last night. I don't know if nerves will start to get to her, knowing that she's facing Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. This is a dream match. But for her, I don't know, but she was definitely not on top of her game last night.
Apparently, she had a wardrobe malfunction too.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, which I didn't notice. I see that after the fact. Maybe that threw her off the rest of the match. But look, if you're going to be chosen to be the world champion to represent um the women in professional wrestling, you have to be able to recover from whatever issue that you had in the ring. I'll be honest with you, after last night's performance, if they weren't planning on putting the title on Charlotte Flair, I wouldn't be surprised after last night if they decide that Tiffany's not ready and Charlotte gets the win now.
You just lost me. You just repeated the same thing. So you think Tiffany's going to lose the belt before WrestleMania?
No. I'm saying at WrestleMania,
Oh,
if Charlotte was there to put Tiffany over,
oh,
I would not doubt if WWE, after last night's performance, changes their mind and say, look, you're just not ready.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I think Charlotte Flair looks older than Trish Stratus at this point.
It doesn't matter who looks older. It has everything to do with who can carry that belt and who can represent that belt the best, or represent that division the best. And Tiffany last night showed that she may not be ready.
All right. So, anyways, Tiffany got the win. Nia comes in, attacks after the match. Trish comes out. Oh, Trish is a fan favorite now. What happened to Thank You, Trish? So she was
Oh,
villain before, and now 2 months later, she's now a fan favorite. Where's the explanation in that? Okay.
well, I mean, one, it's been a while, and I think that that went away when she made that appearance on on Netflix. And look, this actually makes sense, because let's remember where the Chamber pay-per-view is happening at. It's happening in Canada.
Yep.
So even if she got booed in the United States, she's going to be a baby face in Canada.
Yep.
You
Yep.
might as well have her a baby face all together right now.
Yep. So Nia's attempted to do a annihilation or whatever it's called on both Trish and Tiffany. And it was probably the worst annihilation I've ever seen.
Yeah, like I said, this whole segment was terrible, in my opinion.
All right. So next we go to Cody and Damian for a brief passing of words. Damian says when he wins the Elimination Chamber, he's going to challenge Cody. Braun comes in. Braun congratulates Damian. And then they briefly start talking about their upcoming match later that night with Jacob and Solo.
Yeah, and look, I have no doubt this is just me being old school and the wrestler I grew up with that is influencing me to say this. But I miss the days of, if you're a babyface champion, then you're going to face a heel challenger. There wasn't that interaction between baby faces like there was with Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes. And I get it, guys. This isn't the 80s or the 90s no more. 2025, wrestling evolves. I agree with you 100%. But the constant sucking ass is just starting to aggravate me. Damian Priest saying what he said, but then said, but win the chamber, I'm going after your title. You should have been there cutting a promo saying, look, Cody, I'm winning the chamber and I'm kicking your fucking ass. Period. I don't know. I'm just not about the sugar, smoochy face, kiss your ass type of a shit. I am more about, the Ric Flairs and Dusty Rhodes beating the shit out of one another, one being a baby face, one being a heel, and the fans just absolutely loving those Dusty Rhodes and giving those massive pops, and then Ric Flair just coming out to just the fucking so many boos because people hate him. I miss this in professional wrestling.
I think one of the first videos I remember was they were following Dusty Rhodes and he stopped to get gas or something, and the Four Horsemen attacked him at the pump and broke his arm. I kind of miss that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
dude, absolutely. Look, I miss one of the most famous things done outside of the arena was who was it? It was a car chase back in the 80s. And I think it was one of the Four Horsemen chasing Dusty Rhodes. And they caused him to crash. I mean, that is the shit that I miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of the again, wrestling has just gotten. There's parts of professional wrestling that's just gotten way too soft for my liking. And I get it, guys. A lot of people obviously like it. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that we should backtrack. I'm just saying what I miss.
It's funny because I've frequently mentioned in the last, I don't know, 3 or 6 episodes we've done about a bounty. That is strictly a throwback. And do I want us to go back to the '80s? No, I don't, because to be honest, the wrestling was pretty tame to some degree. The move set was pretty tame, I should say. All right, the move sets they got now is just insane. All right, and I applaud these guys for their abilities. And to say they're not athletes is just a joke. All right, uh, but I do miss parts of the '80s and early '90s.
Yeah, but at the same time, we talk about the moveset, and you are 1,000% right. 1,000% right. But this is the thing, though. The moveset back then actually meant more than they do now. For example, you got planted with a DDT, you're taking a 3 count. That's why Jake the Snake was the only one using the DDT.
Oh,
There's only certain wrestlers that were using a power driver. If you got a power driver done on you, you were losing the match.
unless you're a Hawk.
Right, right. But there's always the exceptions, but not like it is today. If you got busted open back then, you got busted fucking open back then. It's just, so you're right. The moveset, there's a lot more. It's the moveset has evolved greatly, but it still doesn't mean as much as it did back then. And you can tell this by all of the false finishes now, which has gotten out of hand as well. I like a couple of false finishes. It adds excitement to the match, but it gets a little ridiculous at times.
Well,
Especially, let me say this, especially when a wrestler delivers this move, and you're like, holy shit, this is done. And the guy kicks out, and then 2 seconds later, he can't kick out of a small package. Come on, man.
yeah, yeah, but you got to look at other sports too. The NFL's toned back quite a bit from the '80s. Basketball's toned back a lot since 2000 and before. I think the only sport that really hasn't toned back is probably hockey.
Yeah, but I also believe that the NFL is a work as well. So I mean,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. All right. So, anyways, next we're going to an interview with Naomi and Bianca discussing Jade, Liv, and Raquel. Um, it's pretty much the same thing week after week with these two. Um, and I'm kind of expecting Jade to come back at maybe the Elimination Chamber, to be honest.
I hope to God so, to save the story, because I'm telling you, um, look, I get Jade was legitimately hurt, but at the same time, if they were doing this angle and she was kept off TV for so long because she was actually hurt, you don't have to do this angle every single week. You mention it from time to time, you pull back on it, and when you know she's closer to coming back, that's when you really start amping up and making it really hot. Um, it's gotten to the point that I've almost I've almost lost interest in this just because of it's gotten to be almost boring to me.
It's got to be a running joke. Okay, you go to any arena, all right, and you're going to tell me there's not 14 different cameras on a loading dock? Give me a break.
Yeah, that too.
All right,
That real quick, I think releasing this video footage of Rodriguez and why can't I never remember her name?
Liv Morgan.
And Morgan was a little premature. They should have waited maybe a week or so, before Jay comes back, and not this bullshit footage that they have. It really, you know what? Honestly, it makes it look like they're trying to crucify Morgan and Rodriguez, just because they don't like them. Because what evidence is this? Big deal. They've seen them behind the dock. Maybe they were fucking smoking weed. Fuck, I don't know. But it's not intriguing to me.
You know, out of everybody in the women's division from 4 years ago, I would have never thought Liv Morgan would be where she is.
Right.
And you look at her 4 years ago, and she was nothing but a jobber. Nothing but a jobber.
She was, but this is the thing too, though, Mark. I appreciate her being champion. I appreciate everything that she's done. Um, but I don't like what they look like they're doing with her now. I don't want to see her in a tag team at all. I would prefer. Look, I would almost prefer her with Dom, just her and Dom, than her and Rodriguez, because one, Rodriguez hasn't had the best career either, and I don't think that she has enough charisma to save her career besides being a mid-carder. Morgan 100% should still be at that top level. And she should be with Dom because it was good shit that they were doing.
Yeah. No, I'm not disputing she hasn't earned it. You know, I'm just saying, from 4 years ago to now, I'm just in shock. So all right, so next we go to a vignette with Alexa Bliss. God damn, she plays a good crazy woman.
Man, there was top two moments on WWE for me last night. And I hate to tell you folks, no, it wasn't the fucking Rock. But we'll get to that. Top two moments. This was one of them. I loved it.
All right, so the Naomi and Bianca versus Liv and Raquel never happened due to a double attack, and they end up getting kicked out of SmackDown, and they laughed about it. I thought that was rich. Um, but Chelsea and Piper show up with Nick Aldis. Chelsea offers her services for Elimination Chamber. Uh, Nick says, no thanks, but I'll give you a match next week. I'll let you know who it is.
So, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Sure.
I thought it was great. I loved it. I loved this Chelsea last night. Um,
Oh my God.
well, hold on. What I really loved during the segment was after Eldest walked away and Charles was like, well, wait a second. Need more information about this. Thought it was great. I think that this, I don't know why. People may disagree, and that's fine because I just say I don't know why. But for myself, this was the best backstage promo or segment, if you will, that Chelsea has done to date yet.
The fact that you say anything positively constructive for Chelsea is a fucking sign of the apocalypse.
Well, I told you, once I seen that match with Chelsea and Penta, it really kind of changed how I looked at her as a professional wrestler because she apparently could do a lot more in the ring that she has either decided that she wants to do right now or that WWE is allowing her to do that, because if you go back and watch Lucha Underground and you watch that match, I mean, it was a 4.5-star match with Penta. By the way, guys, and I don't know why, I know why I forgot it. I came on a little aggravated because of technical shit that I'm dealing with. But it has been strongly rumored right now. When I say strongly, I mean very strongly, to the point that I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a reality, that TKO is in heavy talks about purchasing Lucha Underground and putting it under the WWE wing, which could be good and bad. If they purchase it and have more money behind Lucha Underground, comes back to Netflix. If they leave it alone, leave it that dark, gritty promotion, I think that there's unlimited potential for this. But if TKO buys this and they WWE nice Lucha Underground, the bright lights, shit like that, it's gonna suck. I would even be okay if they brought a little bit more brightness to it, I guess. No more than an NXT. type of a, atmosphere. NXT is still that very much small crowd, indie looking atmosphere, which makes it so different from the main roster. And I think that's why it's still popular. If you're going to do that, don't do no more than that, because Lucha Underground needs to stay just that gritty, brutal, if you're a badass, you're welcome to walk in type of a promotion.
Yeah, if they take it and dismantle it and make it their own, it's going to suck.
Right. Yep.
All right, so next we go to the highlight of the night, and there's heavy sarcasm there. Rock comes to the ring with a couple of announcements, a song, a dance, and then calls Cody out.
So, again, what was happening with Smackdown last night? The Rock, who is considered one of the best, if not the best on the mic, was off his fucking game. He said Roman Reigns instead of Roman Reigns. It seemed like when he was talking about him and Cody's relationship, that he loves him, it almost seemed like he got lost because of how he was repeating himself. I'll be honest, I almost thought I was watching a Donald Trump fucking special with Donald Trump being goofy as Donald Trump, repeating what he says 1,000 times. I almost thought I was watching Batista botching his freaking spot when he was saying, that with Triple H. I don't know what was happening last night with SmackDown, is what I'm trying to say. You never see The Rock botch or mess up his on the mic. This happened last night. Now, I'm not going to say this was bad, because it's intriguing to me of what does this mean? Are we going to see a Cody Rhodes heel turn at the Elimination Chamber? Because my thought is going to, we're going to wait to see his answer at Elimination Chamber, because we're going to have one or two major baby faces win it, John Cena or CM Punk. To make this match between Cena or Punk against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania even more of a big match to have fans really invest into it, are they talking about making Cody Rhodes a heel before WrestleMania to get that investment? I don't know, but that's why it intrigues me.
Here's a couple things. I also heard rumors that Damian Priest is going to be pulled from Elimination Chamber due to injury. Now, I don't know if that's any kind of factuality, but I did hear that rumor. Also, when it comes to this segment, it was the longest 12 minutes of I Want Your Soul that could have been done in, I don't know, 4. All right. I think what they're ultimately trying to do, if they don't turn Cody, is to elevate him as more of a baby face. And the best way to do that would be to turn The Rock down. Okay. This also is remnants of the corporate, when Vince had his corporate faction.
Or even when Triple H had the, when he first took over as CEO, he had his corporate faction too.
Yeah. So either way, it seems neat of a story to me, but
well, I tell you, what really, look, you can like it or hate it, this thing with The Rock last night. But besides him botching a couple of times while he was speaking, at the same time, it really did show how good he was. And I'll tell you why. He went from having the fans give him a massive pop, loving him, chanting his name, to making the fans boo him, to making the fans cheer him again, to making the fans boo him again. He literally took control of their emotions and made them feel different things at different times, and they ate into his hands. Now, being from Louisiana, I got to tell you, when he called them a bunch of STDs, so-and-so, I loved it, because, being from Louisiana, there's some truth to it. I'm just saying. There's some truth about inbreeding and some STD sons of bitches over there. you know, especially talking about places that you guys never heard of, like Homer, Louisiana, and these backwood towns, Louisiana. I mean, look, true story. I was a psychology major, and there's literally a disease named after a place called French Settlement, Louisiana. It was considered it was called the French Settlement disease because way back in the day, there was so much inbreeding going on that people were actually a disease was being created because of it. Shit you not. So I love that part, but it really showed how really good The Rock is by taking these fans on this emotional roller coaster that he did at his own will. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, not too many people can do that.
No,
There's probably maybe 6 people that could probably do it.
I mean, usually once a fan starts booing you, it's done. You're going to get booed. Not with The Rock.
All right, so next we go to DIY to the ring.
Hold on, let me say one other thing real quick. I also love the fact that he covered the whole thing with the Netflix debut of WWE because everybody was saying The Rock hated Cody Rhodes. And all of a sudden, for no reason, he came back to Netflix, hugged him, blah, blah, blah. I loved how they made sure, and I guarantee you this was the fucking Rock. I don't give creative this much credit, that it was The Rock that was like, we got to cover this shit. They said, after WrestleMania, we became friends. We did this, we did that. Mama Rhodes, The Rock, Mama Rock became friends. I loved how they covered that because it needed to be covered because there's little details like that that is often left out.
Yeah, I'll give you that. All right, so next we go to DIY to the ring. Wanted a moment of silence for Pretty Deadly before the match. The booze these guys got was hilarious. I loved it.
I'm not. They need to have a moment of silence for Pretty Deadly's fucking career. I cannot stand these. I cannot stand these guys as characters. They're talented in the ring, but their characters it keeps me from even imagining them being a baby face, which they're trying to be pushed as a baby face right now. And obviously it's not working.
Yeah. So, anyways, actually, this was a pretty decent match, to be honest. I was utterly surprised.
Again, they're good in the ring. I won't take that away from them.
So, eventually, the Street Profits interfere. They smashed both teams. They looked awesome, and then Motor City Machine Guns come out, and they got trashed too. I'm telling you, these guys were dropping these guys like flies, like reminiscence of the Road Warriors. Now, in no way, shape, or form do I want to compare Street Profits to Road Warriors, but the way they manhandled these 3 teams, it was something short of the Road Warriors. It really was, and they looked awesome doing it.
Yep. So remember I said that there was 2 top spots for me last night. This was the second one. Um, their promos they've been doing, I've been loving. My concern was what the promos and what they did in the ring match. That was my concern.
Well,
By God, it did.
yeah, I
They,
want to smoke.
they had this new intensity about them in the ring. And they were all about kicking asses and saying, you know what, you fucked around and now you're finding out.
Yep. No, they look fucking phenomenal. And Montel Ford is probably in better shape than I've ever seen him. And Delson's not looking like a chump either, though.
No, and my God, that frog splash last night. Look, I have always said no one did it better than Eddie Guerrero, but by God, last night I have to say that's changed
Yeah,
because Michael Ford not only did he deliver the frog splash, but the height and the distance. This guy was almost a little bit further than half the ring. And Montel Ford was able to deliver it on point. This guy is absolutely incredible. And although I think they're a great tag team, and I don't want to really see them break up, if that day ever comes, Montel Ford is the 100% star out of those guys. Nothing against the other one. Montel Ford is just that damn good, though. I mean, Jesus, this guy. I would love to see a one-on-one between him and Logan Paul.
I would.
They have the same style, and whether you like Logan Paul or you hate Logan Paul is phenomenal in the ring. They have the same body shape. I think it would be a phenomenal match just those two together. But I definitely think that we should see a world title run with Montel Ford one day.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so next we go to KO crying like always. Outside of Sammy's house, though, it appears.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't been that high in this feud, but I will admit that he added a new layer last night that we haven't seen between these guys, and that was being outside of his house filming inside, And look, it looked. I give them credit for this because it honestly looked like what you would imagine if someone was filming you inside the house and you didn't know it. Sammy being in just a t-shirt, shorts, barefooted, feeding their kid. I mean, just the whole thing. It was really well done last night. Now, does this make me super excited to see the match? It just doesn't. Not even with it being unsanctioned. Do I think it's be a great match? I've said this over and over again. Absolutely, it's going to be a good match. But I appreciate the new layer that they added last night, and it was done really well.
Yeah, no, it doesn't add my excitement to this at all. When we see this every other year, no, not excited. What was up with Kevin's forehead, man? It looked like he had a big gouge at one time. But yeah, you know,
I mean, maybe he got that when Cody Rhodes whipped that ass. I mean, that was a cool match.
I don't know, but yeah, he looked like he had a big gouge that healed poorly or something. I don't know. All right, so next we go to the main event of Priest and Strowman versus Solo and Jacob. This was nothing but a power move match, pretty much, and I'm not complaining. I did like when Tama Loa came at Brown with a chair and he just punched it right out of his arm, and then Jacob fucking football tackled him. I was like, holy shit! And to see Braun Strowman do what the hell was it? I don't where you're coming out the ropes and you just throw your body onto your opponent.
Yeah, yeah.
Utter shock. But yeah, this was nothing but power moves last night, I think, for the most part. Up until Jacob super kicks Solo. That was actually a good move, I thought, or a good highlight of the match. It shows, yeah, it was probably inadvertent. But it's going to show more dissension among the ranks. And are they gearing for Jacob and Solo at WrestleMania or what?
That's what they're saying. I don't know, but I tell you that the crowd was behind Jacob Fatu. When he got in the ring, they cheered him over Damian Priest, over Braun Strowman. They love Fatu. My favorite part of the match was the second time Braun Strowman decided to run around the ring like he does. Let me tell you, that second time that he did it, he had speed and force. I laughed my ass off because the cameraman was got in the way and almost got fucking his ass knocked out. And when he hit Solo, man, they went flying. I mean, he had some speed behind that one. It was great. I was a little surprised that Damian Priest and Braun Strowman won that match. I was expected to be Solo and Jacob Fatu. I'm not complaining about it though. Not complaining about the match. The only thing I'm going to say is, man, they keep on booking Braun Strowman like he's this weak, the weak link. Because if you really go back and watch the match and look at who looked stronger between Damian Priest and Braun Strowman, it was 100% Damian Priest. Once again, we got Braun Strowman in the corner with his brains being bashed out of his head. Granted, this time around, after a couple of times, he was able to get his foot up and stop it. But still, they keep on booking this guy not like the monster that they say he is. I don't know, but all in all, it was a good match. It was a powerhouse match. I agree with you. I'm not complaining about the direction of it. I think that it was great having Fatu kick Solo in the face after Solo accidentally gave him the thumb to the spike thumb to the throat. This definitely is adding more of that layer, as you said, to a feud happening between the two. Will it happen at WrestleMania? I don't know. That's what I'm hearing.
Um, but you got to give Damien his flowers too, because he's what 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". You know, I'm sorry, I don't recall seeing a guy his size or height move like he does. You can take your Sid Vicious, you can take your Scott Halls, your Kevin Nashes, your Hulk Hogan's, whomever. You know, and I don't remember anybody being 6'6" or 6'6" and above that can move like Damian Priest can.
How tall is Brian Cage?
I want to say 6'3", 6'4".
Because let me tell you, as big as he is, he can move in the ring like he's a lightweight. And we haven't seen it recently, but that guy could do some air stuff, air things in the ring that a guy his size should be doing.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Damian Priest is yeah, I mean he's a great talent. You may disagree with me. Do I think that he is a world heavyweight champion talent? Not as a babyface. I think that maybe as a heel, but not as a babyface.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he needs to be polished a little bit more. And maybe it's the fact he's a face versus a heel. I don't know, but yeah, I don't look at him as a world champion, to be honest, or a caliper champion.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, when he carried that belt, most of the time he carried that belt, he was a heel. He got more pops as a heel than he does as a babyface.
Yeah, and to be honest, he's more likable as a heel. To be honest, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So, anyways, that's the recap I've got.
yeah. That's pretty much the recap of SmackDown. All in all, I give it a B minus.
I'm gonna go with the C plus. And I would have given it a straight C if not for the Street Profits. To be honest,
Yeah,
I found it more lacking than exciting. Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Street Profits. I definitely enjoyed Alexa Bliss. Um, I can't even recall what else I enjoyed, to be honest. Oh, our Truth is always a treasure. But for the most part, I struggled to get through this show.
Yeah. Now, next week is their go home show. Um, so I'm a little excited to watch more on Netflix to see where they go for their go home show. Because look, I know that they're big PLEs, obviously WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble. But I tell you, with now that they added that layer to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view or the PLEs, with the winner of that match being able to go to WrestleMania, um, the Elimination Chamber PLEs is really starting to be their fourth big PLE of the year. And I I'm excited to watch it. I am because I'm so curious what they're gonna do with the whole John Cena and CM Punk thing. Only because John Cena, this is his last WrestleMania. I cannot imagine him not headlining WrestleMania. But at the same time, here's CM Punk, who's not getting any younger. And CM Punk has never headlined WrestleMania, and that's something he wants to do. Was that,
It's gonna be a three-way match.
man? I tell you, I hope
Unless,
not.
unless they pull Jay, which there's rumors they're gonna pull Jay.
But to me, if they make the Cody Rhodes a three match with Cody, John Cena, CM Punk, it's going to lose, at least in my opinion, some of the appeal. I don't want to see a three-way. I want to see a one-on-one. And honestly, I want to see a one-on-one between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. You
I
know,
think
if John Cena has to be in the main event, I don't know how they would do it. I would prefer it to be a match with Gunther. Matter of fact, if we have to do a three-way, I would prefer it to be Gunther, Uso, and John Cena in a three-way match. Just being honest with you. Um, to me, it's throwing away a potentially fire match with Cody Rhodes being and CM Punk adding John Cena to it.
well, the funny thing is, Punk's not talking about being world champ. Well, he talks about it, but I think his main goal is main eventing WrestleMania more than being another world champion. So it's not like they're guaranteed, and I'm sure they guaranteed Punk a world title shot or a world title spot, um, for him to come back to WWE. So I'm sure he's gonna be world champion somewhere, you know. But to me, it's almost a lock that Cena's gonna break Flair's record. I think that's a given. Um, am I happy about it? Not necessarily. Has John earned it? Maybe, but I think Flair's earned it more because he was in two different promotions versus Cena being in just one. Uh,
Well, the thing, let's not forget that there's still that promise, that favor between Paul Heyman and CM Punk that's out there as well that could play into this match between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. But again, if I had to pick which match would be a throwaway match by adding John Cena to it, it would be Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. Because as much as I like Gunther, and I do like Gunther, I don't care what people say about him being boring. He is a throwback to your technical wrestling. I do like Gunther, and obviously I do like Jey Uso, but I just don't see that match as being this massive, oh my God, fire, grab you by the balls, throw you in type of a match. So fine, add John Cena to it. And I'm not saying that if Jey Uso wins the title, that it wouldn't probably be the biggest pop of WrestleMania, but it's going to be the biggest pop of WrestleMania for not the reasons that it was a great match, but because of the fact of is that feel good underdog story. But if you add John Cena to it and Jey Uso still wins, you'd still have that same pop. You'd still have the same feeling of the underdog story. Versus if you add John Cena to the Cody Rhodes as the Punk match, now you are taking away what that match has the potential to be. So I don't
so you're
know.
gonna say you wouldn't want to see CM Punk versus Gunther?
No,
Really?
no,
Okay.
no. And I tell you why. The feud that's going to be had leading into WrestleMania after everybody's established after the Elimination Chamber. The promos between Gunther and CM Punk, I don't see that being the type of promos that is going to have the fans feeling like, holy shit, the way the promos cut between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes is going to be. Let's remember, the story is more than a match. It's with at least with WWE, it's the lead up to it. It's the build to it. It's the promos that get you really invested to it. I just don't think that CM Punk doing a promo with Gunther would be um as great as the Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, because we seen it briefly a couple of weeks ago. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk cut promos against one another, and we all agreed that that was one of the best Cody Rhodes promos that he's done since he's been in WWE, and it's because of CM Punk. CM Punk is going to elevate you, and I don't think that CM Punk can elevate Gunther enough for Gunther to have that personality. It would be like CM Punk and Lance Storm. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but he could elevate Jay because that's the third part of the equation.
He could, but again, it's more than just Jay. You have to want Gunther to get his ass beat because of the things that he's saying. I don't know. I don't think that it would serve anybody any justice by having that three-way with CM Punk and Gunther, or CM Punk and John Cena and Cody Rhodes even. Although I will admit, though, my God, the promos between Cena, Cody, and CM Punk would be fire. I'll say that.
I think so. But I think CM Punk versus Gunther in a match, I think is well worth it. And I think the promos between Jay and CM Punk could be decent. Not a Cody and CM Punk, but could be decent. And I think they could bring out a side of Gunther that you might not notice or might not see, you know, and they might elevate Gunther's promos, you know.
Yeah.
Gunther's great on, you know, head on, balls on, you know, tits out, whatever you want to call it, you know, kind of interviewer, you know. He tells it like it is. And that's not a spoiler, that's a fact, you know. So with Gunther, you know, what he says, you believe because he's Gunther. All right. And whether you say is he's boring or he's blah or whatever, Gunther is a throwback. I'd rather watch Steven Regal versus Eddie Guerrero any day of the week. Dean Malenko any day of the week. You know, that's just me. All right.
Yeah, but and you're comparing, in my opinion, oranges to apples when you bring those guys in, like Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko. Number one, Eddie Guerrero can cut damn good promos. He did. And as well as the emotion that he brought to that. Dean Malenko, Gunther is not even on the same planet as Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko didn't need to cut a good promo. Dean Malenko was just that good in the ring. And matter of fact, I posted a video right before the podcast of Dean Malenko reversing a leg scissors move that he reversed. And I said this in this post that Dean Malenko is one of the best, if not the best, hands down, pure technical wrestler there is. I don't even think Bret Hart is as good as Dean Malenko. Because what Dean Malenko brought to the ring was not only the technical wrestler, but he was the man of what? 1,000 moves, I think it was.
Oh.
You know, submissions. I mean, come on. You know, Dean Malenko was so far ahead of his time. And so bringing Dean Malenko into this equation is like way off. That's what it says. It's comparing apples to oranges. I don't think I don't think by the time Gunther is done with professional wrestling, he'll be as close or on the same planet as Dean Malenko. I don't know any wrestler right now that I would say would be on the same level as Dean Malenko by the time they got done with their career.
No. And Jericho can say he's 1,004 or whatever the case may be, or you know, but Jericho's good and has been good and had a great career, but he's no Dean Malenko. And to be honest, I don't even know if them two ever faced, but I tell you what, I might have to go back through YouTube and check it out because I think that'd be a hell of a clinic.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wish we would have seen, and yeah, I'm about to mention the name that shouldn't be mentioned. I wish we could have seen a Chris Benoit at the peak of his career against Dean Malenko. I think that match would be on the same scale as a Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit, if not better than Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. And that's saying a lot.
Now, I do recall seeing Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko in a match one time, and I literally saw, I think it was an arm bar or something that Malenko had on Chris, and Chris curled him like a fucking barbell. I was like, holy fuck.
Right. They have faced each other.
Yes, they have.
But they didn't face each other when Chris Benoit was at the peak of his career. Chris Benoit never really he wasn't the wrestler that you were saying, okay, we have seen the best of Chris Benoit, this is as good as he's going to get. No, Chris Benoit continuously got better match after match after match, and that's why I said that I would have loved to seen the version of Chris Benoit at the peak of his career against Dean Malenko, because as good as that match was, and I've watched that match that you're talking about, having Chris Benoit at the peak of his career against Dean Malenko would have blown their first match out of the water.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Unfortunately, I think Dean had Chris by a substantial amount of years, and by that time, Dean was already backstage or whatever.
Yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
no, it's a shame because yeah, no, like I said, there's a handful of guys that their names were together. You know, Chris, Eddie, Eddie, Dean, Chris, Dean, even Perry Saturn. You know, you can see who we want, but Perry Saturn actually was a pretty good wrestler. Not on the level as Chris, Dean, or Eddie, but he wasn't too far behind either. Um, Perry Saturn didn't get the credit he deserved either, but they also elevated Saturn too, I think.
So speaking of Perry Saturn, so guys, once again, I have to apologize to you. Um, Man, I did the second take of an amazing interview with a young man by the name of Icarus Alexander. Um, I love this guy. Matter of fact, Gerald is his real name. Gerald and I will be starting a pay-per-view on pay-per-view. Fuck. I wish I was good enough to start charging pay-per-views for. We're going to be doing a podcast, possibly on Mondays, reviewing going way back to the very original first AEW pay-per-view and watching and doing recaps and talking about the first 5 years of AEW. Matter of fact, the name of the podcast is going to be Ring the Damn Bell presents you the first 5 years. But I interviewed him last night. He's an independent wrestler here in Minnesota. And once again, when I played it back, it was just full of garbage and noise. Um, I'm for whatever reason, I'm not being able to hear it on my headsets. So I thought everything was good because it happened the first time. I changed some shit up with equipment. It happened again. This is why I'm actually using my phone now. I bought a very expensive computer to do all of this. Whenever I was preparing to do this podcast, it's shitting out on me. So I have to go deal with that shit once we get done. But anyway, Gerald was saying that not too long ago, he was sent in and was trying out for this big deal that was happening, I think in Japan. And one of the people who was trying out to be on this was Perry Saturn, who we've not heard from in a lot of years. So I would love to see a Perry Saturn make a comeback, even if it's only for a couple of years, so he could get his flowers. And I'm not talking about the stupid shit that Vince McMahon had Perry Saturn doing. Vince McMahon, as much as we say he's a genius in professional wrestling, as you pointed out, Mark, he had his misses. And let me tell you, he absolutely shit on the pot when it came to Perry Saturn. He misused Perry Saturn unlike anybody I could think of, maybe with the exception of uh, Terry Taylor, maybe the exception of Terry Taylor. But yeah, he just completely had a talent that he just allowed to slip through his fingers and misused and destroyed his career. And yeah, as Bob Cook would say, he got a check. I get that, but I think that even Bob would agree, professional wrestling to the guys who are passionate about it is more than just a fucking paycheck. Otherwise, we wouldn't have guys with the independent doing it for fucking $10 to $50 a night.
Right.
But I hope that Perry Saturn will be making a comeback. I would love to see it. I would prefer to see him, believe it or not, in AEW. I think as much as shit as we talk about Tony Khan and the dumb shit that he does, I think that he would recognize the talent Perry Saturn is more so than those in power in WWE. I know Triple H is in charge now, but I don't even trust Triple H with Perry Saturn.
No, I think there's maybe some bad blood, maybe, and maybe not much bad blood, but just distaste or disflavor for Perry Saturn. Last I saw Perry Saturn, though, he didn't look too good. So hopefully he's got himself back in shape or whatnot. And he wasn't doing too good either, I heard. But
No.
no. But
No,
I
there's a lot of been issues. So look, Perry Saturn is actually mentally went down. He saved a woman's life, but in the process, he got injured. And I think that really fucked with him for whatever reason. And that's when you start to see his health decline. Look, if you guys want to go read a very interesting story about a professional wrestler who should have had it all, whose career went down the drain, not due to anything, in my opinion, that he did, but because of Vince McMahon, and then the aftermath and the actual hero that Perry Saturn is. Go watch. There's documentaries everywhere about Perry Saturn on YouTube. Go watch it. This guy was a real legit fucking badass. Not just a badass in professional wrestling. I mean a legit badass. Look, I am almost 6'5", 260 pounds. I have did amateur MMA fighting. There's not a man in this world that I can say that I'm scared of. But let me tell you, I met Perry Saturn in a freaking dark alley. I'd run like a bitch. I mean, I would, because this guy is as legit as you could possibly get. So yeah, I would love to see a Perry Saturn show back up, maybe at AEW or even at TNA, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, Terry Saturn was always an unsung hero for me. Even in WCW, even in Raven's Flock. Um, I think it was a good move for him to leave with Dean and Chris and Dean, Chris, and Eddie. I didn't even know if they were really good friends outside the ring, but apparently they must have been, because they convinced Perry to go with them. Um, they're just some guys that have the ability to have the talent, and you just don't know why somebody else doesn't see it. And Perry was one of them, to be honest.
Well, you know what, Mark, and you brought something up very interesting. Talk about something else that I feel like Vince McMahon should have taught it with, was that faction that left WCW and came to WWE way before Vince McMahon bought WCW. We're talking about Eddie Guerrero. We're talking about Perry Saturn. I'm pretty sure, wasn't Rey Mysterio with them as well?
No. Maybe in WCW he might have been, but when they got to WWE, no, Ray came after the buyout.
Okay, so I can't remember who it was. Perry Saturn and Eddie for sure. Who else was in that faction? Do you remember?
It was Chris, Eddie, Dean, and Perry.
Perry, that's it.
Radicals.
Look, let me tell you something. You want to talk about a faction that has zero, and I mean zero, weak links in the faction? Let's say these names again: Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero. The things that they could have done together if Vince would have left them together and booked them the way they should have been booked. I'm not a big fan of trying to recreate something new from something old, like another Four Horsemen, for instance, right? Without the original. But you want to talk about having a WCW fucking Four Horsemen.
Yep.
That would have been the guys right there. And you had two former Four Horsemen in the group to begin with, the Dean Malenko and freaking Chris Benoit.
Yeah, not only that though. I mean, just imagine that they're feuding with somebody, Edge, Christian, the Dudley Boys, whatever. The attacks on them guys with them four guys, pure poetry. But we didn't get that. Would have, could have, should have. And right, Vince shit the bet on that one. The only thing he shit the bet on just as hard is Terry Funk. Now, granted, he got Terry Funk at the very tail end of Terry Funk's career. But calling him Chainsaw Charlie was just retarded.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Maybe me, you, and Bob to start our own wrestling promotion.
With the 58 cents we got?
Hey, man, I'm not poor. I'm doing okay for myself.
Oh, it's me that's got the 58 cents.
we okay. You know what? Because of our relationship, you and I, are pretty good friends in real life. Outside of this shit. Maybe we'll just let you be the silent guy, as in you can come to the freaking ring and watch the matches. I love you. In all seriousness, you have, you have a lot of great knowledge when it comes to professional wrestling. If I really started a promotion, I would absolutely have you there, just because of the amount of knowledge that you have. I mean, you're not pretty, but you got some damn good. You got some damn good wrestling knowledge. I'll give you that. Matter of fact, one of the and we'll wrap up after this. One of the best compliments I've gotten with doing this podcast was actually yesterday from Gerald, who said, "Man, he's like, I've been on a few podcasts, and these guys are always fucking clowns." He's like, the fact that you're very straightforward, you actually ask great questions. You actually tell your own story by the way you format the questions, going back to your childhood, what's happening in your childhood, how you got to wrestling, what led you to, make a decision and train and blah, blah, blah. And the fact that, he wants to recommend a couple of the people, a couple of professional wrestlers that he knows that are doing well for themselves to come on, who doesn't normally come on a podcast because of these guys being clowns, was a huge compliment to me. And because of, I do take this seriously. I am trying to build a product. I want our podcast to be known as the guys that don't try to shit on professional wrestlers. We have our opinions about what we like and don't like, but we always follow it up with they're good in the ring. We just, for whatever reason, can connect with them or whatever, right? That we treat professional wrestlers with the respect that they deserve. That's what I'm trying to build. And to hear that from somebody who is in professional wrestling is a huge compliment. And you as well play a big part in that because of the way you and I both have kind of, we've made plenty of mistakes, but we always try to make sure that we come across as being genuine and professional in many ways when it comes to a sport that you and I have both been watching for 40 plus years, that we absolutely love. So thank you for that as well. And we're gonna only keep on getting better, hopefully. We're going through some growing pains, technical issues. But we've been fortunate to have the people that we've had come on the podcast. We're fortunate to have someone like Bob Cook on the podcast. So I hope we keep on growing in the right direction, and we're going to eventually have quite a bit of eyes on our product, which will allow us to do even greater things. But anyway, guys, that is the recap of Smackdown. We will be back on Tuesday with Bob Cook for the recap of Monday Night Raw. And speaking of the cooker, he is going to be on the podcast Monday, not to be co-hosting anything and not to be doing a recap, but to talk about his career. And I am going to try to do my damnedest to bring out a side of Bob Cook that we don't often see, especially on podcasts, with his career that he had. Looking forward to that. And then in 3 weeks, I'm sorry, in the Monday, for a week from Monday, we're going to have Casey Anthony, who was a WCW, WWE professional wrestler. Really looking forward to that as well. He has faced guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that's going to be a very interesting conversation that we're going to have together. But until then, guys, you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great week. And Mark, what do you always say?
My phone's about to die, so ring the damn bell.
Ring the damn bell, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. It is absolutely free, guys. You guys have a good one.
Just remember, we're